Hello! David Snowpeck here from Snowpeck Games. Welcome to the stream. I can see we have Ricardo in the house, the virtual house, the stream house. Happy 2024, everyone. This is the first stream of 2024 of the new year. I hope your year has been going good so far. This is also stream number 100. I think if I've done 100 of these, I think I'm a streamer now. I think that's the rules. Once you've done 100, you're a streamer now. So yeah, how have you guys been? How have your projects been going? Do you guys have any New Year's resolutions for 2024? I'm like obsessed with New Year's resolutions, so I have like a million, which I won't go into because that would take the whole stream. Anybody playing anything cool? I've not been playing that many games, honestly. I've just been so busy with work and everything that I haven't been playing much. I was playing Stride Fates for a little while, which is like a VR game that's kind of like Mirror's Edge, like a parkour running across the tops of buildings and fighting dudes, which is pretty cool. I got stuck in it though, and I haven't managed to get myself back to it. For a little while too, I was playing a flat screen game, which is old. It's like a story walking simulator type game called Tell Me Why, and that was pretty good. It was like an interactive movie more than a game. But yeah, I haven't really been playing that much. You guys been playing anything? How's it going? It's very quiet out there. I can see with my little eyeball counter that there are humans watching, but I don't know who you are unless you say something. And you also get a cool character on the screen. It looks like Ricardo's got a fro and some armor. Looking pretty good there, Ricardo. I've got some plate mail and some white hair, I think. Hey, Tony Manblast, welcome to the stream. Tony says, I've got my fighting game mostly running with rollback add-on now. Awesome. That's really great to hear. I have not had as much time as I would like to put into the rollback add-on. Like, I managed to get a Godot 4 version working. I'm sure there's bugs. You know, I've been seeing a number of people reporting bugs for SG Physics 2D in the Godot 4 version, which I need to sit down and like really go through. Maybe like next stream, what we could do, or this stream if it turns out to be really boring, we could go through the backlog of bugs in SG Physics 2D and the Godot rollback netcode add-on and try and knock some of those out. Because like, I don't know, guys. It's just so hard to balance like work and family and like my own personal projects that I want to keep working on. Like I enjoy working on the open source stuff that I maintain, but like I also need to do some creative things. So yeah, it's just hard to find time for all of the things. But yeah, I am glad to hear that is going well for you. But yeah, today, unless you guys convince me, which I'm very convincible, by the way. If you've seen previous streams, I have been convinced to do something completely different halfway through a stream. But unless you guys convince me otherwise, we are going to work on the VR game that we've been working on the last bunch of streams, which I originally created for the Godot XR Jam. And I want to get it to like a nice place and publish it on App Lab. Is what I'd really like to do. App Lab is kind of like a second tier store within the Oculus Quest store, which is a lot more accessible than getting in the Quest store. You have some small requirements that you have to meet, but otherwise, like I think they'll basically let anyone in. Whereas the Quest store itself, the main store, is like really highly curated. They like try to make sure they don't have too many games of one type and that the releases are, you know, spaced out well and all those kind of curaty things. But it would just be cool to have something on App Lab, so I'd like to kind of finish it out. Tony says last time I played some Peach Challenge already a ton. Thank you, Tony. That it means a lot to hear that. So yeah, we were working on this. What were we working on last time? This is already like a month ago since we worked on it. Oh, and one thing I wanted to mention too, which may mean that I might not stream next week, but we'll see. I'm participating in the Global Game Jam next week. I don't know if anyone else is doing the Global Game Jam. There's a local instance of it, like a 30-minute drive away from where I live up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And yeah, I might do a VR game there as well. We'll see. That site runs Friday, Saturday, Sunday next week. I think like the jam itself starts in a couple of days. They like have a whole week-long period when the sites can do their jam, but then you're only supposed to do like 2 days or 3 days, or I think it's 2 days actually. So I think it's like a kickoff on that Friday and then the actual jam on Saturday, Sunday. But yeah, that should be fun. Anyway, last time we might have been working on the enemy AI for this game. I'm not sure. It's been a month. I've been working on it pretty consistently, so there is a lot of stuff that is different. So I think maybe we could just start with me showing you guys what it looks like now, and then we can start digging into what we're going to work on. So give me a moment. I have to put a VR headset on my head and get it set up to cast to the screen, but that should only take a minute. Oh yeah, double headset. You know you're hardcore when you have two things called headsets on at once. All right, give me a second here. I'm going to deploy this version of the game I have loaded up here, which is actually not the latest version, but I think it's the most presentable version. So that's what I'm going to deploy to the headset, and then I'm going to get it set up so you guys can see what I'm seeing in here. All right, it is loaded up, and then I'm going to attempt to start casting. This usually works on the first or second try. All right, and now oh, here we go. All right, so if you haven't seen this game before, the idea is that it's supposed to be trying to like reimagine Galaga in VR. And rather than taking place in space, you're in this biplane flying around in the clouds. The original impetus for the cloud thing was that, was it Mist or what was, I can't remember exactly what the theme of the jam was. Something water vapor related. So that's why it's in the clouds, but I kind of like it. I like the idea of, I'm in this like old-timey biplane. There's going to be sort of futuristic-looking alien things attacking, and I'm fighting them. I think that's kind of a cool vibe. So, as you can see, last time the enemies, I think, were like spheres with a stick coming out of them, so we knew which direction they were pointing. I've switched it to this, let's get closer, to this model. It's like a Creative Commons asset that I found. It doesn't fit exactly the style that I have in mind for the game, and gameplay-wise, it kind of sucks because they are so thin. I'm imagining something rounder and more like bulbous for the final enemies. Come on, where are you guys coming in? Here they are. But it is nice to have something other than a sphere. You can see they follow these paths similar to Galaga, and then this wave of enemies will actually kind of go in a little kind of Space Invaders style grid here, where they'll line up, and then two of them will kind of come off and fly at me, and they shoot these currently, ooh, yeah, he got stuck on me, that's a bug. These purple orbs, which let me get hit by a whole bunch of them. You'll see it makes the ship shake. I'm not entirely sure about the ship shaking effect. I'm a little worried that that could cause, oh, they got stuck on the ship again. Another bug. Or same bug, I guess I should say. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about the shaking. I'm worried it might cause some people nausea, but I was really struggling with how to indicate that you've gotten hit. I tried a couple of different things with particles and different explosion effects to make it clear that you've gotten hit, and nothing was feeling right. I do like the vibration other than my worries about comfort, but I think it's still not quite enough. I think there still needs to be a little bit more when you get hit to indicate that you've gotten hit. And of course, I'm also planning on adding some controls in here. You know, so you'll have like a health meter and some gauges and some cool looking stuff. The enemies are supposed to avoid crashing into me. There's code in there for them to like fly above or below me rather than crashing into me. Maybe we can work on fixing that on the stream. The thing that I've been working on actually for the last couple of days is the clouds. It might be a little hard to tell if you're not playing the game, but I can't actually move anywhere in 3D space. I'm like limited to a box area. And so I go all the way over to the right, there will be a limit for how far I can go to the right. If I go all the way up, there's a limit to how far I can go up. And the idea was that the clouds would sort of frame the play space that I'm allowed to go in to make it, I don't know, to indicate to the player in some natural-ish way, I mean, it's a video game, that you have to stay within this square area. And the whole thing with that in general is that, you know, this is supposed to feel like Galaga. It's going to have that kind of arcadey feel, which means we're not getting full 3D motion. Anyway, I don't think these clouds are succeeding in really framing the play area. And you can also notice they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which is a bug in the particle shader that's actually responsible for the clouds, which I've fixed in my latest branch, where I'm trying to fix the whole cloud situation in general, but not in this version. In this version, they progressively get bigger and bigger and bigger until the clouds just kind of take over the whole area. Anyway, yeah, that's the state of things presently. Let me take a look and see what people are saying in comments, if anything. Yeah, aliens getting stuck on the windshield. That is actually kind of funny. Maybe making the plane flash a color when you get hit would work as well. Yeah, that is an interesting idea. That definitely, I think, plays into the sort of retro arcade idea as well, since that's a super common way to indicate that you've taken damage. So that's worth trying. I do think there's got to be some kind of explosion or visual effect that would do a better job of it. I was trying like having like a white sphere go like, you know, kind of expandy in front of you, but it just would appear in weird places. I mean, it would appear where you got hit, right? But like weird places as far as being a good indicator for having gotten hit. Like you get hit out at the tip of your wing, and then like the explosion happens there. You might not even see it. So I don't know. An argument could be maybe made to move the explosion in front of the player, like regardless of where it really occurs, just kind of nudge it into their field of view so that it really feels like an explosion has happened. I also like the idea of you know, maybe putting some like smoke effects on the wings or coming out of the propeller, or maybe even like fire effects, like indicate that you've gotten damaged. And then again, like Galaga, there'll probably be some sort of like floating power up that you fly your plane into, and it like brings your health back a little bit. So I feel like this game is in that state that most games get into, where like you have a lot of the pieces there, but they're not tuned quite right. Like everything's just a little bit off, such that you're not really feeling the actual experience. So yeah, it just needs like a ton of tweaking in a million areas. So let's kind of dig into that. I've been working on the clouds situation, so maybe we can start there. Also, as you can see, the enemy behavior needs some work, so that's another thing we could continue to work on. I would like to show you guys how I ended up implementing some of these more complex enemy behaviors. If you remember from some streams ago, the enemy movement is done with steering behaviors. And then the actual like logic, the steps and stages they go through is done with behavior trees. And the behavior trees have gotten a lot more interesting than the last time we were doing them on stream. Before I just had like a simple behavior tree for the enemies that would make them follow these paths. But now I have some more complex behavior trees for the enemies, as well as behavior trees that govern the formation that they're in. Like when they go into that grid, there's like a single behavior tree that controls the whole thing. And then also the level itself has a behavior tree that controls what happens when. Like each of the sort of phases we go through, there's like 3 waves of enemies that attack. And that's also done by a behavior tree. I'm just going to totally take them out. Die, enemy scum! How many got through? Just 3? So yeah, let's take a look at the behavior tree stuff. Then I'll show you where I am on the clouds, and then I don't know. You guys, let me know what you think. What are you more interested in? Like trying to fix this disastrous cloud situation, or enemy AI, or do you not care? Let me take the headset off. Well, no, I'll keep the headset on my head. We're start looking at some code, and even though I have this cool new strap where I can kind of flip the headset up, it's still a little bit more comfortable to not have it on at all when I'm just doing coding. When a health bar is in there, that could also shake around. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. And maybe that'll end up, I have to test this on more people. Because like I am personally very prone to VR sickness, but this doesn't bother me for whatever reason. But I have to test it on more people to see if the plane shake is disruptive. But yeah, it may be having the plane stay still, but having the health bar shake could be interesting. Hey, Ruben, welcome to the stream. I am doing all right. How about yourself? All right, so first I promised I'd show you a little bit of the behavior tree stuff. So I've been using this behavior tree add-on called Yet Another Behavior Tree. I have started patching it and kind of making it my own because there were a couple of little things that annoyed me in there. I don't know how far I'm going to take that, but we'll see. So we have the behavior tree that controls the whole level. So we have like this start simple left spawner action. The level's kind of broken up into these spawners. So we have this left spawner. Where is it located? I can't see anything. Oh, I guess the origin is there? That's weird. Oh, no. Okay, this is just a container node. Okay, so here's the actual spawner. The spawner's over here. The spawner can be assigned a behavior tree, which gets copied and put onto all of the enemies that it spawns. I basically say I want to spawn 10 enemies. I want to spawn them 0.3 seconds apart. And then when this first behavior tree action happens, it kicks off that spawner. Then we wait until until no enemies at all exist. So we have this action that just looks at a Godot group, in this case enemy, waits till the count is equal to 0, and then it will succeed and go on to the next action. Then we wait 2,000 milliseconds and start the right spawner. If you look at this first spawner, all it does is says to follow this path and then despawn yourself. So the kind of idea for the first wave is that they just sort of loop around and go by and then disappear. The kind of narrative idea behind that in my mind is that the aliens first come through and don't consider you a threat. Because like whatever, you're just some biplane. They're just going to fly by and go where they were going. But of course, you're going to shoot them. You're going to shoot them down. So eventually, after the first 2 waves, they decide to attack you. The second wave is just like the first wave, except it follows a different path. That's the path for the second wave. And then it gets a little bit more interesting with this left grid spawner, which starts by, oh yeah, there's a whole lot more stuff going on in this behavior tree. So it starts by having the enemies follow a path, then join that grid formation. And let's look at how that's done. So we have this selector node. So a selector in a behavior tree says that you're going to do one of the things. I think that's the idea. Let me think this through. Yes. So a selector is you're going to do one of the things that are the children of the selector. And you'll do the first thing that reports itself as a success. So we have this BT limiter that ensures we only follow the path once. So the first time we go through this selector, we'll follow this path and then finish. And then the next time we go through the selector, this BT limiter will count it as a failure. And we move on to this sequence. And a sequence does every child in order, like all the way to the end until it fails. Until it fails. So after we follow the path, we join the formation, which the formation is this other node over here. I think we ended the last stream where we were writing the code for the formation, possibly. So then the enemies join this formation. And once they've joined the formation, this behavior tree stops controlling them. They like cede control to the behavior tree that is on the formation that they're a part of. So then we have this parallel. A parallel node will run all of its children at once. So we have this action, which makes all of the enemies in the formation aim at the player, and then this sequence of actions, which sort of controls what they're doing. So they wait for 2 seconds, they fire a volley, they wait for more 2 seconds, and then we go into this part, which we're always reporting as a success, so we don't get stuck here, I guess. And we will. This is the part that says, every so often release 2 of the enemies to go chase after the player. And so the way that works is we have that same group waiting thing, except we have a special group for the enemies that are released from the grid. We wait until there's none of those left. So that's basically, if there's any out there already, we don't release any. We wait for those ones to come back. And then here we release them from the formation and assign that group, which brings us back into their original behavior tree, because they join the formation, they cede control. Once the formation releases them, then they go into this next bunch of logic. And this is where we tell the enemies to go, sort of pursue the player, shooting them periodically, and then spinning around and going back to the formation. And that's done by we have this action that selects a random point within a kind of range, and then assigns that to the blackboard. In behavior trees, you have a blackboard that's like just some shared state for the behavior tree. So we could have several different types of actions that have different ways of selecting target points, and then stash them in a particular key on the blackboard. Here we're stashing it in the target key. And then we have this seek point action, which takes a blackboard key, in this case target, and then has the player seek that. So what we do is we select a point that's kind of like to the side of where the player is in the formation. Then we have them fly there. And then once we get there, we switch to doing 2 things in parallel. Under this parallel one, we pursue the player. So we fly at the player until we've reached a particular distance, this distance of 20 meters. But while we're pursuing the player, every 1 second with a random half-second deviation, we shoot a projectile. So that's how they kind of fly at the player, periodically shooting a projectile until they get within, these 20 meters. Then we bust out of this parallel loop, and we select a point past the player, and then we try to fly at that point. I think this, in fact, is where that bug is, where the aliens get stuck on the windshield that we were seeing. So if we want to fix that, I think it's probably in these 2 actions. What's been going on here? Another fun idea for hint indication. A tacky bobblehead ornament that shakes around instead of the plane. That is a cool idea, Tony. I love that. I kind of also, I haven't totally thought through the lore for this game, but I also kind of imagine it happening in a little bit old-timey times, maybe not now, maybe when biplanes would have been a more common occurrence. And so maybe we could pick a bobblehead that's a little dated to sort of place it in this older time period, but that's a really cool idea. Hey, Logan, welcome to the stream. Thanks for dropping by. And the congrats on the 100 streams. Ricardo says, nice behavior tree, behavior forest. What stuff did you add to the add-on? Little things so far. There's a bunch of things that bothered me about it. We can kind of dig into that. I think most of it was in the root. So one thing that bothered me was that the blackboards are nodes, which is not in and of itself a problem. But the way that they were being attached to the blackboard created this problem where every time you loaded the scene, it would immediately have changes that would have to be saved, which is just a disaster as far as version control. So I changed the way that the Blackboard property works. What else did I do? I don't know if I've done this yet, but I also don't like the way that the actor is attached to the behavior tree, because the only way to assign the actor is in the inspector via a path, whereas I have a bunch of places in code where I want to assign an actor, and I just basically have to grab into the internals of the behavior tree, but I don't think I've changed that yet. I remember I added a new like action type, which of course adding actions is a normal part of using a behavior tree. I've added a ton of game-specific ones, but I added one that I just felt like should be here. Oh yeah, this one. So you have this Blackboard action set, or Blackboard set action, where you put in like an expression and it will assign whatever the result of that expression is to the Blackboard. Something that seemed really desperately needed in a lot of places was being able to put a node path in and have it set that node path, like a node path you'd set in the inspector. So I added that. Something I've thought about a lot too, due to the way that I'm using the behavior tree, is maybe allowing a single behavior tree to run multiple nodes at the same time. Like basically you'd get like a separate Blackboard instance for each actor that the behavior tree is controlling, so that I wouldn't have to duplicate the trees so much. Like part of the way that I'm using the behavior tree is attaching it to these spawners. And so when it spawns an enemy, it has to duplicate this whole tree and then assign it to that enemy. There really isn't like a lot of state going on in here. We could have a single tree that controlled multiple actors and then just be careful to store everything in the Blackboard, but I haven't done that yet either. So really just very, very little stuff. Hey, The Clean! Welcome to the stream! Cyber Habanero, welcome as well! We are working on this Galaga-inspired VR game that I originally made for the Godot XR Jam back in December, and I've continued working on it. I spent a lot of time getting caught up in the enemy AI. I'm mostly moving on from that. There's a bunch of little bugs I'd like to fix in it, but I think I'm going to work on kind of these polish things before going back to doing some more level design. It's weird having level design, like just the term for this kind of game, but it is level design. Once I get through some of these polished things, I'm going to go back to trying to really finalize what level 1 is for the game, and then I'll dig back more into the AI, I think. Yeah, the plane game. It's advanced a ton, Cyber Habanero. We played it for 5 minutes or something. You may want to go back and check out the changes. Although I guess we'll be in there a bunch. So I don't know. It's changed a lot. I want to see it because it's awesome and I'm proud of it. So yeah, let me get up the current version because I kind of went back a little bit before I started messing with the clouds, and we can work on this a little bit. You guys can try and help me tune this messy situation with the clouds and maybe get it to an acceptable balanced state. Oh, I should have done that while the editor was open. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to close the editor. We're going to make sure nothing weird has happened. Okay. Now we're going to open the editor back up. Godot isn't super robust to changing branches, changing Git branches while the editor is open. It did a much better job in Godot 3, but in Godot 4, I've had numerous problems with it. There's a bunch of work being done right now to try and improve that situation. There's like a file system abstraction that the editor uses that some folks are discussing and doing some work on, and then there's a bunch of fixes around fixes and enhancements around how the editor uses UIDs to track files that would hopefully, ideally, eventually eliminate those problems. But for now, pro tip, close the editor before you switch branches and then open it back up again to avoid most problems. All right, so if we go check out the environment, what I've done is I made some new clouds. And I've broken it up into kind of sections. So we have these flat clouds on the top and bottom to try and create a more recognizable ceiling and floor, and then these taller clouds on the sides. I also spent a bunch of time tweaking the logic around how they are spawned, which has led to this very regular, very boring box shape that they seem to come in. You can see extra well how boring it is if you look at it from the side. Like they come in these very regular chunks, which I think I've gone too far in this direction. The old clouds were super random. Like you felt like you were just in a random field of clouds and the borders were not discernible. And so I'm like, okay, I got to make the borders more discernible, but I've gone, I think, far too far here. We need to expand this a little bit, make it more clumpy and disorganized to make it feel a little bit more natural. I think real quick, let's just drop in here so you can see how this changes the feeling a little bit. I think the clearer floor and ceiling makes a pretty big difference. But yeah, it's not perfect. Lots of work still needed. Let me see if this is deployed. Power button. Oh my god. I'll just lift it off my head and put it back down. That should... No. I have too many headsets is the problem. And all of them have their power button in a slightly different place. Okay, here we go. All right, it has deployed. Let me cast to the computer. See if it pops in on its own or if I have to hit reload. I'll hit reload. There we go. All right, so I think as far as the floor and ceiling, this is actually quite nice. So when I'm way down here, I can look up and really see the difference of where the airplanes are, or airplanes, where the enemies are. If I fly way up here, I do get a pretty good, kind of visualization. If there were any enemies to see, they're all flying away down into the clouds. Let's wait for the next group of enemies. But it is still, like I was saying, a little bit too unnatural. And the sides, I don't think, work at all. They're like simultaneously not wall enough and also not natural enough. But anyway, I'm way up at the top, and it's easy for me to look down and be like, oh, the enemies are down here. Or to go way down at the bottom and look up and see them. And just it feels much easier to orient myself. So anyway, let's mess with this. Like I said before, the clouds are a particle shader. So we're kind of jumping around between doing stuff in the editor and editing the particle shader. And let me take the headset all the way off. Yeah, and if you're wondering why a particle shader, the other alternative for trying to put like a crap ton of clouds on the screen would be doing a multi-mesh. But the particle shader is actually a little bit more performant. Theoretically, I guess. We're not doing anything super advanced here, so like it's probably a horse apiece, roughly the same. But particles also render with the same like pipeline, the same stuff in the renderer as a multi-mesh. So the rendering is exactly the same. The difference is that with a multi-mesh, you're running the movement logic on the CPU, whereas with a particle system with a particle shader, the movement is also run on the GPU. So all of it is happening on the GPU, which should theoretically be faster, especially on a device like the Quest 3, where the CPU is kind of underpowered and the GPU is, I mean, just relatively speaking, much more powerful. Anyway, let's see what we can do. So let's see if we can mess with the regularity here. We don't want them to clump, or we do want them to clump. We want clumping of everything, but let's pick one of these and work on it first. So I'll hide all of them except these bottom clouds. And I think we can get some more clumping by increasing the explosiveness of the system, possibly. We'll see what that does. We may end up needing way more particles, though. Okay, so those two are closer together. Yeah, I kind of want them to overlap. Like, every once in a while, I want to see some clouds overlapping, and they're just not quite doing that. We got a couple other knobs though that we can twist here. So the shader parameters, we can also make the speed more variable. I ended up making them really close together because I thought there were too many blank spaces. But let's maybe. Why can't I adjust this? Why won't you let me adjust this, Godot? Oh, I'm on the one that's invisible. Okay, let's set this back to what it was before and actually edit the correct particle system here. So we'll try 0.5, see if that gives a nice effect. Yeah, sorry. Ricardo, you noticed that I was editing the wrong one. I've always loved the phrase "a horse apiece," but outside of the Fox Valley, I've found nobody ever knows what it means. It's Northeast Wisconsin term. Yeah, you know, when I'm streaming too, like I always feel really uncomfortable saying things that I say all the time because like the stream has an international audience, and I'm like, if I say "a horse apiece," is anyone going to know what I'm saying? So I said it, and then I explained what it meant. All right, so the explosiveness did make them clump a little better here. I think we're going to hit the problem though where we have blank spaces. But this I like. I like the overlapping. That's nice. So we're going to have to deal with the blank spaces somehow, possibly just by generating more particles. Like let's go from 8 to 16. And we may have to adjust the size of the particle system and their lifetime to make sure we don't have too many particles alive at any one time. This particle system, you can't actually see the other side of it because the camera far distance is just not big enough. So like, I don't know how big we'd have to make this to actually see the whole thing. I'm not even 100% sure we are. Yeah, that looks like we're seeing the particles spawn. And they go for a really long way. They probably don't need to go that far. Let's try reducing the lifetime. Let's go 20 seconds. See if that gives us a more consistent stream of clouds. I want a nice, consistent stream. Geez, 20 seconds even is too long. Let's try 10 seconds. Okay, so I don't know when the 10 seconds kicked in. Oh, they're despawning like right after they get behind the player, which is okay-ish. There's still like a big blank space. Like these might be too clumpy, honestly. Let's get them to space out a little bit more. Let's change the explosiveness, maybe 0.4. See what that gets us. Give me an occasional space. No. How is there such a big difference from 0.2 we started with? I wonder if we just need... What if we add randomness? I actually have never been clear on what this randomness affects. Does it just affect the lifetime? Does it affect the explosiveness? What does it affect? We might have to check the source code on that. Emission randomness ratio. Just emission in general. Yeah, this is too clumpy. Far too clumpy. So if I set explosiveness to 0, what happens? That should make them be 100% regular. Is it just the increase in clouds that made it clump together like that? If we go back to 8, does that give us the boring clouds we had before? No. What changed, guys? What did we do? Yeah, so you can see as soon as one despawns, another one spawns. I have no idea what we did that made this suddenly cover the ground so well. Maybe you guys caught it? Hey, Deviant Plot! Yeah, I'm baffled. Or maybe it was the lifetime. Maybe making them live longer? We ended up with a... So this started out as 30. Let's just see what that is, what that does. Okay, so it was the lifetime. I think 10 seconds is actually fairly good. You know, we make this the cutoff. It doesn't need to leave blank spaces. Let's maybe reduce the number of clouds. I want the possibility of the occasional space. Yeah. We're getting an occasional space. I'm really surprised that the explosiveness made no difference here. Let's maybe add another 0.2 in there. Ooh, I think these might be despawning a little too soon in some cases, though. Now we have a huge space. Was that just because I changed the settings? Let's watch it for another second here. Spaces are bigger than I'd like. Let's kill the randomness. Let's kill the explosiveness. So we also have a little bit of randomness on the start position in the particle shader. And so maybe we'll just rely on that. Here's the particle shader, by the way. It's very, very simple. This ran from seed function. I stole from like a forum post by Kalanu, who said he stole it from the default particle shader, and I'll believe him. Hugo is trustworthy, and it's used to generate a bunch of random numbers in here. We're defining this bounds, which is essentially extents from a point, and picking a random value within those extents. And this z here changes the starting position a little bit, and that allows us to put some space in here. And I think this might be okay, honestly. We'll have to see it in VR. I'm a little worried about how quickly this despawns at the end, though. The player might look behind them, and I don't want it to vanish too soon. I guess we'll look at that in VR again too, and see what it looks like. Increasing the explosiveness will consistently make large gaps like that, since it causes more particles to spawn near the start of the lifetime of a mission. Yeah, I was hoping the gaps would be smaller. But yeah, it seems like explosiveness is not the tool we need here. Okay, so I kind of like that, although maybe let's play around a little bit with the speed. So which one's the parent one here? Upper cloud, lower clouds. Is the lower clouds the parent? How do I edit this? So I do want it to be a shared resource, but where I've figured like the original one is the one I'd be able to edit. Do I actually have to like save this material and then edit that in order to edit this? Let me try that. So I will say, oh, and actually these come from a scene. So all of those changes, we'll have to make them again. Okay, so 10 seconds. Sorry guys, I forgot that it came from a scene. We'll get rid of the explosiveness. What else did we do? Well, we definitely didn't change that. We changed the number, emitting to 6. All right, so this is where I should have been editing this all along. We need to, again, adjust the camera far distance. We did, I think, 16,000 on the other one to allow us to see the full particle system. That looks about right. They seem a little closer together here. What did I change? One way to answer that question actually is to save this, and then I can look at the TSCN file and it'll tell me which properties this scene has overrode from this scene. So we'll do that. Actually, let me do it from VS Code. So that is environment TSCN. And we're talking about upper cloud volume, no changes. Okay. It says there's nothing. Okay, yeah, there's some spaces, it's okay. And then can I change it? Here I can change it, woohoo! All right, so I want to maybe create a little bit more variability in the speed. That might make it look a little more interesting. Let's try 600. Before there was a huge amount of variation in the speed of the clouds, and I thought it was too much. This might be too much too. The gaps get kind of big, although acceptably so, I think. Yeah, let's give this a try. So let's try this in VR, and we're looking for, I guess, 2 things. Are the gaps okay? Maybe 3 things. Are the gaps okay? Does this speed difference seem unnatural? And do they despawn too quickly behind the player? So let me get the headset back on. Give me a second. We're going to tell Godot deploy to my Quest 3. All right, it's loading up. And then I'm going to hit the share button. Is it going to come in? All right, we'll hit reload. All right, so we're just looking at the bottom clouds, which are a little bit too close because I can fly into them. We'll fix that. I do kind of like them close, but once you go inside the clouds, like look at this unviewable mess that it becomes in there. So we can't have that. That's no good. So we need to lower them a little bit. But there are some spaces. I mean, the spaces are there and they seem okay. The speed really doesn't seem that unnatural. I think actually the most unnatural thing about this is maybe about how widely they spread. But I think I'm not going to address that just yet. I think I'll address that when we look at the sides, or after we look at the sides, I should say. So let's go do that. Let's go look at the sides. This seems okay. We'll throw in the upper clouds as well. And then let's look at the right side. What I was thinking was that we just need a lot more side clouds that not just directly next to us, but a little further out. And like these ones, we need them to overlap and stuff. So let's try and do that. I won't make the same mistake as last time. I will edit the scene that they come from. Setting, of course, the camera far distance to 16,000. Why is this still orthogonal? Give me a perspective. There. Okay. So we'll do like we did with the other one. Oh, I didn't check about the clouds despawning, if that looked natural. Let me take a look. That looks terrible. Absolutely atrocious. Okay. These clouds need to live a little bit longer. All right, one more tweak here before we move on. We are going to increase the lifetime. Let's maybe say 15 seconds. We probably will need to increase the number of clouds to compensate for the longer lifetime. Let's see what we get. Have you thought about having them fade in and out when they spawn and despawn? So they do fade in as a natural effect of the camera Z far distance that you're looking through is closer than the cloud spawn. So they come into the camera distance and kind of like triangle by triangle spawn in, and it looks acceptable. The problem is the despawning behind you. I don't necessarily want to have the clouds live super long behind you, because now we're spending resources on these clouds that you're not actually seeing. So I don't really want to use the same trick there, but you don't look behind yourself very often. So I'm kind of figuring if they just despawn a little bit back there, it'll be fine, I hope. So, okay, 6 is too few now that we have this longer life. Let's see how 8 does. Yeah, let's maybe go 10. Or mathematically, if we had 6 before, 9 should be the right number because we've increased the lifetime by 50%, so we would increase the particles by 50%. We can try that. 10's looking pretty good, though. There's clumps and non-clumps, and feels okay. Okay, we'll stick with 10. We'll do 10. I'll just test it really quick to see if this fixes the issue. All right, so clouds are spawning, and looking back here, yeah, they last long enough that I think here we'll test it for real. We have these aliens are going to fly past and then descend into the clouds. And so I think a natural thing to do would be to shoot as many of them as you can, and then look down and see how many are left. And I'm not really just subjectively noticing the despawning. It's happening far enough away in my peripheral vision that I don't care. So I think we're good. I think we're good. I guess now that we have the different quantity, I want to make sure that the gaps are okay. I'm really close to the bottom here. Ooh, I like when they overlap, how they kind of like, they look like they're animated a little bit. They're not. They're just inside of each other. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. All right, so the quantity, the lifetime, that's good. Let's lower them a tiny bit because they are too close. Say lower clouds. We'll go to transform, drop them down. Let's say 600. Let me give that a try. Just want to make sure I don't fly into them. And then we'll for real move on to the side clouds. I think I still could fly into these a little bit. Oh, you guys aren't seeing this, are you? Yeah. Did I redeploy? This doesn't feel like anything's changed, honestly. Let me just redeploy to make sure that I got it. All right, we'll fly down, and I can still go inside them. All right. Lower cloud volume, let's go 550. That's pretty low. I have a bounding box I can turn on to kind of see it visually here. That looks pretty good. That bounding box is supposed to represent like the area that the player and the enemies exist in. Yeah, okay, let me try this, make sure it still feels like a barrier. Oh, I gotta get rid of that bounding box. Is it still here? Okay, good. All right. Ooh, I can still sometimes barely get in there, but this is good. This is good. Let's go up to the top. Yeah, I might want that to get a little closer. Although no, it's fine. Let's move on. Let's move on. Okay, side clouds. For real this time. Vertical. Let's have these live the same lifetime as the other ones. The horizontal clouds, let's get rid of the explosiveness like we did there. I think we need a wider area, just wider in general. Down. Oh, and let's maybe copy the same min-max speed that we had on the other ones, but we're spawning them within like this 100 100-meter wide area. Let's increase that. Let's like just quadruple it. Let's go way bigger. And then we'll also need to adjust our visibility AABB to account for that. We multiplied our bounds by 4. So let's multiply these by 4 too, I guess. All right, they still are coming kind of in a line. That might just be old particles. Let's generate a whole ton more of them. Yeah, okay, this visibility ABB probably doesn't need to be quite this big. Let's make it, I don't know, 1,000 meters. That's better representative. It's not gonna work though. They still feel like they're like going single file. I mean, okay, some do spawn kind of next to each other. Maybe acceptable. I don't know. It still feels pretty unnatural. Let's try it. Let's see what it ends up looking like in practice. We'll have to move the right and left volumes a little bit further away so that they don't intersect our bounds. Let's maybe start by moving 300 to the right, something like that, 300 meters. The thing is, too, though, like the further they are away from the bounding box, the less they feel like a wall. You know, and they're supposed to feel like a wall. That's not nearly enough. That's not nearly enough particles. Let's, oh, and I never saved this one, so that's definitely a problem. Let's see what happens now that I've saved it. That could maybe work. That could maybe work. Let's bring the left ones back in. We need to move those 300 on the X to the left. All right, from the inside, that might look a little more natural. Let's give it a shot. All right, another thing that we're gonna have to fix, I don't know if you notice, we start and then the clouds like slowly spawn in. We want to start with clouds next to us already. So we'll fix that as well. I have an idea for how to do it. This is a little bit better. Definitely not all the way better. So am I all the way over yet? I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, okay, this is as far as I can go to the right. We're getting there. I think what we need is for the top and bottom clouds to spread out further. Like right now, they're just in a lane underneath us. I think they need to go kind of wider. The ones next to us may need to go wider as well. But this is better than we started, for sure. So let's try tweaking that. I figure we'll spread out the top and bottom, see how that works, and then maybe try the code to spawn clouds when the match starts all over the place. That'll be a little bit of work in the particle shader, a little bit of work in GDScript. Okay, so let's go with the horizontal cloud volume. Let's make the bounds on the X, let's double it. Let's go to 500. I think we'll need to increase the number of particles to compensate. It doesn't even really seem like it did anything. Or maybe we need more particles to see that it did anything. Maybe this needs to be bigger in general, 1,000. We'll use the Sid Meier rule. One of the many Sid Meier rules is when you're tweaking a value, start by doubling or halving it, not small changes. Okay, this is getting there. This is close. Let's increase the particles. Let's double the particles. I think that's looking good. This should look less like a tunnel. All right, let's increase our visibility AABB to include all of these particles. By the way, if you're curious about that, if the visibility AABB isn't in the camera, the particles won't be rendered, which usually you don't have to spend quite as much time tweaking this as I am because particle systems are usually smaller, but because this is dealing with the environment, I need to make sure that the visibility AABB is right. Otherwise, if you don't quite see it, then suddenly all the clouds disappear. So this is something that we have to, in this case, tweak quite a bit. So we doubled a lot of things here. Should I double this? Or maybe times 1.5? Okay, we'll go, wait, did I do plus 1.5? Times 1.5. 1800, and this is 600. Should be 900 then, I guess. Does that look about right? No, it needs to be wider. Okay, we'll go 2000. 1000. Even wider, 2200. I think that'll do it. Okay, so enough of them have to come down the center for it to feel like a floor, but we also need enough kind of out to the side that that it doesn't look too artificial. And I think this might get us there. Let's go take a look in the environment. Yeah, I mean, some of the bottom ones cross over to being under the side ones. All right, let's take a look at it. All right, we're fully inside it. And this does feel like a floor. I mean, I'm down on the floor. Go up here. This feels like a ceiling. Let's fight some enemies. Get kind of the whole experience so I can understand where they are relative to my bounds as I'm fighting them. Those guys are going to go into the clouds. Bye, guys. The next group, I think, comes from the right. There they are. They're flying out of the clouds. That looked pretty cool. Much better than them flying out of like a blue void. I killed them all. Yeah, I feel like my left-right movement is a little slow. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're good. I think we can move on from tweaking. Let's write the code to spawn in the clouds from the start. Okay, so to do that, what I'm thinking is we're going to have a script that starts by setting the explosiveness to 1 and turns on a uniform variable that goes to the particle shader that says, instead of only spawning them way over here, instead spawn them all around the kind of play space. The tricky part there is we need some way of telling the particle shader where the play space is, because that's not totally defined. Like the values that we have defined right now are, okay, we want to start, approximately 6,000 meters in front of the player, and then we just kind of run the simulation up until the player. So I think we might need a Z minimum to say how far behind the player we want to generate these clouds. We could maybe even take that from the Z bounds and just give that variable kind of double purposes. So yeah, I think we need to add a uniform. And yeah, let's use that as the Z minimum. And I guess, yeah, I think we can derive the bounds. I think we're good on that. Okay. Weaponized Battle Toaster, welcome to the stream! Too bad you missed the last stream. The last stream was like a month ago. Because the holidays and all sorts of things. But yeah. Nyanel, the stream is finally back! Jesh! Alright, so... I'm tired of hearing the explosions in this headset. Let me get the particle shader loaded up here. We need a uniform. Can I make... Is Boolean a valid uniform value? Is that a thing? What should we call this bool? Startup. We'll say startup. Bools are allowed. Okay. I mean, internally, it's probably still, like the full width of a float or whatever, because, GPUs. All right, so we'll need to say position. I keep trying to press the Vim key bindings because I'm so used to using Vim plugin in VS Code, and now I'm in the editor, and it's faking me out. At some point, I hope we'll be able to edit the shaders, have them open automatically in the external editor. I like doing it here because as I'm like making changes, it actually updates the preview above. Right now it's stuck because I have a syntax error. Remember the presentation about Poland? No. What was the presentation about Poland? Okay, so then when we're starting up, we're going to use a different bounds within which to generate our clouds. And I guess to test that, I should turn it on. Hang on. It's going to not like that. Okay, just work enough so I can turn this thing on. Oh, and we can't do it here. We got to do it, let's say, we'll start with the horizontal cloud volume. We'll turn on startup mode, and we'll crank the explosiveness up. So rather than, oh, and if we're doing the startup mode, we do want to set the velocity. So right now, this is just gonna spawn all of them in one spot. Let's turn the lifetime way down to, don't let me forget that it's 15 seconds for when we set it back. Let's make it be like a 1 second. It was about the invasion of Poland in 1939, but it was happening in the building right... Oh, okay, yeah, that does ring a bell. I remember that now. Okay, so just for testing purposes, we're having this respawn every second, and we are going to try to make it spawn everywhere within our full bounds rather than just at the end. And that's going to look like... Actually, this only affects the Z. This doesn't affect the X and Y. So the X and Y should be done exactly the same, and I gotta stop hitting Vim key bindings. And then rather than this, okay, we're gonna say, how are we gonna do this? We'll say like Z, full Z bounds. We're trying to figure out what is the full Z width that we might do this on, which will be the Z, the absolute value of the Z offset plus bounds z, because we're gonna use the bounds z to be how much behind the player we want to generate stuff. So this is the full size. So in order to get this random value, I'm going to multiply by the full z bounds. And then add the z offset because it's negative. Does that make sense? Let's see what happens. Oh, I wrote var. No, float. Oh, okay. What did I do? What I got wrong here? No, this isn't. Is this right? Okay, this is right. All right, so every second, it should give us a random distribution of clouds within the area that we want things to appear. It seems way too far back. It should only go back like this tiny, tiny bit. What did I do wrong in the math? So the z offset is where we normally start. We're going to add to it the z bounds. Oh, times 2. So we only need that for these ones because it's an extents. So this should be it. Yeah, that's okay. I think the distance we're using for behind the player might be too small. Let's, since we're always multiplying these by 2, just for the heck of it, we'll multiply this one by 2. I'm sorry that I'm cheating so badly here. We maybe should have a separate variable for how far behind the player we want to generate, but I'm just trying to like double purpose this variable somehow. Hey, Gopnik. I tried to run WebXR preview in Godot, but it complains about not being HTTPS. Any advice? So yes, WebXR needs to run HTTPS. However, the built-in Godot web server, like when you come here and say run in web browser, is supposed to use HTTPS, I think. Like with a made-up certificate. I might be wrong about that. If it's not running in HTTPS, although I really thought it was, there's a bunch of just like little web servers you can run. I used, what did I use? I used browser sync or whatever that thing is called to do a little HTTP server. There's a way you can do it with Python. There's like a one-line Python command you can run that can just make a temporary HTTPS web server. Lately, what I've been using is running Nginx in a Docker container. Anyway, there's like a million options. If you just like Google how to run like a little, we'll say like one-line HTTPS server. Big list of HTTP static one-liners. Let's see if any of these are HTTPS. Oh, wait. Simple. Oh, no, it's just HTTP server. Well, I imagine there's probably slight variations you could do on these one-line commands, or some of them are, in fact, 2 lines, that could generate a little temporary HTTPS server. The clean, you could upload your game to itch and it will solve an array of problems too. Yes, that's also true. So itch will also run the game HTTPS and set the headers. There's some special headers that Godot 4 needs to run. It's not a WebXR thing, like that's just a Godot 4 thing, although it will be different in Godot 4.3. Godot 4.3 has merged a change that lets you make a single-threaded version of the web build, which will make it so that you don't need those 2 extra headers, which is going to cause some audio issues. The reason that in Godot 4 it's required is because it allows using threads for the audio, which makes for much smoother, nicer audio. But depending on what's more important for your situation, it can make sense to go with that single-threaded version of the web export. All right, so I think this looks good. This seems good to me. So now let's set this back to explosiveness 0 and startup off. So what we want to do is have like an on ready. Oh, and I need to set this back to 15. We want to have an on ready script that like sets the explosiveness to 1, turns on that Boolean, waits a frame, and then switches it all back. So let's make that script here, attach script. We're just going to call this cloud volume because we're going to use this script for both the vertical and horizontal cloud volumes. And we're going to say explosiveness, unless that's not what it's called. Oh, it's disconnected. That's why we're not getting any autocomplete. Is it connected? Explosiveness? It's still not called that? What the heck? Explosiveness. Where's my autocomplete? I need my autocomplete. There we go. Explosiveness equals 1. And then setting shader parameters is always a pain in the ass. So this is process material, and then is it like set shader param? No, how do we get at that? I do not have this memorized. Does anyone have the code for setting shader parameters memorized? Or actually, this is a material, shader material. So let's go to shader material. Get shader parameter, set shader parameter. Okay, so just set shader parameter. Easier than I thought. Maybe there's a different situation where it's a pain that I remember. And our shader parameter is called startup. Set it to true. And then we are going to, I mean, we could just await, say await, what is the signal? There's a scene tree signal, right? That lets you wait a frame, I think. Or actually, because the lifetime of the particles is so long, we could just wait a second. Maybe let's do that. And then we don't have to count frames and I might get it wrong and blah, 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 blah. So let's say get tree, create timer, 1 second, timeout, await, and then we will reset these things. Watch 2 kids jump over fire with box bikes today. Small town Australia is just different. Oh, box or BMX, yeah. Okay, that makes more sense. I would have to figure out what is a box bike. Jump over a fire with BMX bikes. Thanks for taking us a little bit into Australia. Yeah, Gopnik, I hope that helps. Certainly feel free to ping me on Discord if you're still having problems later. I'm sure we can figure it out. And Cyber Habaneros are offering to help test. Sweet. Okay, so theoretically, this should mean we've written enough code so that when we launch into the game, we should immediately be surrounded by clouds rather than... Or wait, I have to attach the script to the vertical cloud volume as well. Almost forgot a step. Oh, do you guys remember how I'm always complaining about this issue where Godot steals focus? Like I click this button and then I come here and I can't do anything because like my key presses are going into Godot. I finally figured that out. and I made a PR, and it's been merged, and it should be included in Godot 4.3 Dev 3. And you have no idea how excited I am for that. Of course, I could just compile my own Godot and use it. No, I am waiting for it to be in Godot 4.3 Dev 3, which may be by the next stream, and you guys can enjoy me complaining less about the same thing over and over again. All right, let's test this. I think this should work. So what we're hoping for is I spawn in, and I'm surrounded by clouds rather than having to wait for them all to come to me. Oop, all right. Hang on. Let's get this all set up. I will share it, and then actually I'm going to start it again so you guys can witness loading in together with me. Is it coming up? All right, everyone. Oop, I guess I don't want it full screen because I got to jump over here. I'll full screen it right after I press the button. Okay, hasn't loaded yet. Hasn't loaded yet. All right, we're loading. Haha! I have spawned in already in a sea of clouds. The illusion is not broken that we are in a single tube of clouds coming at only us. Awesome. That worked perfectly. I think this is good enough to move on to something else. Let's make a git commit, and then how about we try maybe something with AI? Maybe why the ships aren't dodging us? That might be something to figure out. Yeah, so let's commit this really quick. Review the diff. And actually, I'm going to update my to-do. I like taking things off the to-do. Improve cloud cover to really show the play area. Done. All right, so made cloud cover more believable and spawn in at startup. Sweet. Cyber Habanero says I'm still on 4.1.1. You know, that's a decent move, honestly. 4.2 is awesome, but certainly these first two versions have had their stability issues and regressions and stuff. I think 4.2.2 is going to be stable as the 4.1s, and that would be a good time to hop over, I think. The Clean says I'm still on 3.5. You know, 3.5 is still great. 3.5, so much more mature and polished than any of the 4s. I mean, we'll get there. I'm thinking, you know, well, I shouldn't say what I'm thinking. It'll sound depressing. But we'll get there. We'll get there. It's not really depressing. I just think other people might think it's depressing. Okay. So, yeah, what do you guys think? The enemies crashing into the player? I think it would be easier to work on that if we put together a little test scene rather than me having to play the game to get to that point. But if we put together like a little test scene that demonstrates it. So let me take off the headset and we will build that. Still afraid that it will break anything in my game dev. Also, greater than 4.1 needs new Java version, right? I don't know. So I've been using I think 17 with Godot 4 for quite a while. and I think I'm still using it, like even on 4.3, the Java 17. But possibly possibly there's a range, and you might be down at the lower end of the range. Like which Java version are you using right now? I don't know if it's related, but I'm thinking of making library bindings for 3DS homebrew game with Python binding. That sounds like a fun project. I don't have any advice. Godot bindings, is something I know quite a bit about. Doing Python bindings, I don't have a ton of experience there. I did some Python bindings a long time ago, back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and I was using there was a tool. Is Swig a thing, or am I making that up? Is Swig a thing you can use to generate Python bindings? Yes. So I had a C++ game engine, really, that I made, and I wanted to allow scripting in my custom C++ game engine via Python, and I was using Swig, which apparently is really the thing, because I've Googled it. Google doesn't lie, I hope, to generate the Python bindings. But man, that was a long time ago. Okay, so how can we do this? Well, we could make a test scene that we watch like from third person, so a completely unique scene. I think it might be better, though, to make a alternate level that we load in instead of my level 01 that just has the enemy flying at us, being able to do some different camera angles when running in 2D, I think would also be nice. But I worry if I make the scene too artificial, then it might not. We might have to make too many changes, right? Because like I have some global game state stuff that like is used to find the player and blah blah blah. So I think making an alternate level is the way to go. I just noticed the Godot console says user is entitled. Didn't know it would call us out like that. That's a a good one, Ricardo. That was a good one. So if you're curious about what that is I'm intending to release this on App Lab, so I actually have it loading the Meta Platform SDK, which I have checking the game entitlement, which is a pretty normal thing when you're in any store. Like if you are launching your game in the Steam store, you can use the Steamworks API to check the entitlement, which basically just is, does the player own this game or not? And if not, then you quit the game, haha, pirate. Yeah, so it's actually checking, does the current user own this game in the MetaQuest store? Because I've added it to App Lab, it has an App Lab ID and everything. It will get there one day. Okay, so we'll make a new level. I think we are going to copy a little bit of this level, maybe not. Yeah, I like copy paste. I'm a big copy paste guy. Let's duplicate this level and then just delete stuff. Wait, what is in the script? There's nothing in this script. I kind of want there to always be nothing in this script. Let's delete this script. I don't want it to exist. Detach script. Delete. If you can't do it with a behavior tree, I don't want it to be part of my level. Until I think of something that I can't do with behavior tree. Duplicate. We will call this actually, hang on. Let's maybe make a new folder. We'll say test. Maybe we'll just call that folder test. And then we'll call this one player avoidance. And we'll put it in the test folder. Let's open it up. I want to keep the bounds. I want to keep everything up to, so I want to have the level behavior tree start some spawner. We'll probably change what it is, and then wait, and then do it again, basically. So we'll have this nice loop we can test. The simple left spawner perhaps is fine. We might want to move it. Yeah, let's just... Well, the behavior that has the problem is on this one, so maybe let's delete these two spawners. And then we'll just maybe call this one spawner. And we'll say start spawner. And we'll assign it to this enemy spawner. We're going to get rid of this path. We don't want to do anything with a path here. We'll be able to get rid of this follow path stuff then. Which means we probably don't even need the sequence or selector. So the part where this goes wrong is starting with pursue player. So maybe we can get rid of this stuff. Ooh, what if the problem... I'm a little unsure how the parallel kind of fits into the sequence. I wonder if the problem has to do with this parallel. So I'm going to leave that there for now. And then after we do this, let's just have the enemy despawn. So that goes on this one. Let's add BT action. And this is going to be, we'll say despawn. And I'm going to attach the right script. I haven't come up with a good way to make like all of my different action scripts into like a library of scripts. One possibility is putting class names on them, but I just don't like having too many classes in my project with class names. So I've been reluctant to do that. However, they're all suffixed with action, and so maybe that's okay. I can be like, well, I don't care how many end with action because they're all kind of in this one little namespace. I was thinking, why did he have an empty script? Yeah, probably I originally imagined that the script would be like controlling the level lifetime, but no, behavior tree is even better. Despawn action. Oop. Go back to Godot here. Are there any properties on despawn? No, it just despawns. Yeah, I hit that at some point early on in using Godot and making too many things class names, and I was just like, this sucks. And so now I almost always try to just load scripts or scenes from paths at the start of the scripts that need them, rather than just polluting this global namespace with names. Because like, I hate naming things, and I'm terrible at it, and it takes so much time, and to be forced to name like intelligently every single class every time you create it just sucks. I know that George Marks, who maintains GDScript, wants to add namespaces to GDScript, and when that day comes, I will probably switch up the way I do this, and I'm very much looking forward to that day. Okay, so we're going to spawn, we're going to pursue the player, up until a certain point, we're going to select the things, go ahead. Okay, how many enemies are we going to spawn? We are going to spawn one enemy. Instead of 10. And let's move the spawner closer to the player. Oh, I'm sorry for all the yawns. This has been a long week, guys. I am exhausted. Just totally exhausted. It's been a good week. But lots and lots of work. How are we doing on time? Ooh, we have 20 minutes. We might get somewhere with this. Okay, so the player starts at like 1,000. So we'll put this right in front of them on the Y, I think. And let's line it right up with them there, and maybe closer on the Z. Let's maybe put them, I don't know, 500 meters away. I don't know what that's going to feel like. Oh, sorry, negative 500 meters, because the player is facing same as a camera would face into the negative Z direction. And yeah, so let's go over to main. We don't have like a built-in way to switch levels, so we are going to do this the janky way. Let me just make sure that this is all at zeros. Okay, that's good. Which is we'll delete this node and we'll load a different level. Which that reminded me to rename this the player avoidance level. All right, so let's just test it out flat screen first. The dude's gonna fly straight at us shooting, and he should avoid us, but he doesn't. He just flies right into us. And then we spawn another one and repeat. I'm gonna dodge him. Okay, so I have a couple of theories. Theory number one is that this parallel could be part of it. Like, what if it's not willing to move on from this parallel until after this wait action is done? Like, let's say the pursuit is finished. But no, that doesn't make sense, though, does it? Because like then we would expect to see the enemy stop 20 meters in front of us. How exactly does parallel work? Let's look at the code for this. So this is the behavior tree tick. So every time this runs, we need to return whether we're a success, failure, or running. Running will make this sequence kind of stay here. Once everything is a success or a failure, I think it jumps to the next section. So when does this one report success or failure? If at least one child is running. Yeah, I mean, this could be a thing. Like, what if this reports running, which would mean this would report running, which would mean that this parallel wouldn't move on. This one will report running until it's done, but this one could be done, and then this one could still be reporting running, which would leave us stuck here. That leads me to believe that I should probably wrap this one in one of these decorators. Like, let's have it always say success. This sequence is always a success. He's quite bad at flying, it seems. He flew right into the enemy and stayed there. All right, let's see if this makes any difference. So the getting stuck, was that the 20 meters thing? There's two problems here. He didn't get stuck this time. So I think that solved one problem. All right, so now as soon as this action is done, we move on from parallel without worrying about this one at all because it's always a success. One problem down. Just add windshield wipers, yeah. So pursue player action should avoid us. It should, because of. So okay, we're moving via this steering manager, and if I go create steering manager, it should create the steering manager, including the defaults, which avoids crashing with into enemies in the player. But something's going wrong here that's making it not do that. There's also some serious problems with the separation. Like I totally fudged the math to make it do what I wanted for the path following, but it's like totally wrong. So that also could be part of the problem. Let's get back to here. We're seeking the player position while avoiding, but the avoidance isn't working. Okay, so I guess let's look at this separate. So we take a distance, a force, and a collision mask. So let's see how the collision mask is applied. Make sure that's right, first of all. So we are doing... Oh, we're creating a sphere. Interesting. We're creating a sphere and doing just a collision test. Collide shape. Checks the intersection of a shape given through a physics shape query parameters object against the space. The resulting array contains a list of points, blah, 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 blah. So we create a sphere. That is the distance. Where are we positioning this sphere? Oh, here we go. So the global position of the enemy itself. Wait, we're past pursue player. We're past pursue player. We've moved to seek point. So what does seek point do? It also creates a steering manager. Okay, so the same thing should happen. Same stuff should happen. Same separation thing. The distance is 50. So anything within 50 meters, we should start trying to fly around it. What is the 5? Or wait, no, the 5 is the distance. How much you want to bet this distance is too small? So I tuned everything with the separation to be related to the... Well, actually, I mean, it still should do something. It shouldn't just go completely straight, even with 5 meters distance. And we're doing 2 and 8. Let's make sure those are the right physics layers. 3D physics. Yeah, because the bits go 1, 2, 4, 8. So that should be 2. Let's make sure the player has the right stuff. We have this hurt area, which is what we're using. Monitoring, monitorable. It is on layer 2. So let's add some print statements. We'll say separation collided! Exclamation point. We'll see if the problem is, are we colliding and not doing the right math, or are we completely failing to collide? So this should tell us that. Actually, can I just move you to the side here? Separation collided. Okay, so we are colliding. Let's see. Yep, we're colliding when we expect to be colliding, but it isn't budging. It's not even like it's trying. Just for the heck of it, let's increase the distance. Like maybe it's sort of trying, but like not hard enough. Also, we may want to do a different separation parameters for the player and for other enemies. That's an interesting idea, actually. But we'll test it this way, and then maybe we'll, you know, be separating two different ways. Not plane, sorry, enemy. Let's make this be 20. And then we don't put a force in here, actually? I was expecting... Okay, no, the force is the 50. Force is 50. All right, let's try that. See what happens there. He's coming. He's coming. And he dove under us. He just went down. Huh. I feel like it'd be better if he went over us. Just like as far as, you know, what looks cool. We go down a little bit. He kind of hit us, but tried to go over us. All right. Let's try increasing the force. Let's put it at 100. All right. Let me go down and see him go up. Still kind of hits us. Okay, let's push this out a little bit. Let's say 40 and 200, following again the Sid Meier rule. I mean, he really dodged us that time. Let me... Oh, okay, I didn't go down far enough for him to go over us. Let's see what it looks like when he goes over. It looks nice! Okay, let's try this. Let's try, and steering behavior should be able to handle this, doing 2 different separations for enemies and the player. So it'll try to avoid both the enemy and the player, but it will work a whole lot harder to avoid the player than to avoid other enemies. And, well, first of all, let's make sure that the avoidance still works. And then let's test the normal level and see if the path follow behavior is still right. Which, right in air quotes, there's things I don't like about the path follow behavior that I still want to tweak and fix in little ways. Like, for example, they never speed up to if they fall behind a little bit, and it just drives me crazy. Like, they need to speed up. 9L says, David, if you were looking for a job as a beginner junior position today, what would you look for and where? I get that question a lot lately. So you're talking about as what? A programmer, as a game developer, or a programmer in the games industry, or a designer, or like what's the position? I just add 0.5 to my values until they work. Yeah, I mean, there's a point where if you're close enough, maybe that's the right thing to do. But like frequently, just to save time, just like double it, double the value, see what happens. That's Sid Meier's rule, at least. And I trust Sid Meier on this particular point. I want to get rid of that print statement. Come on, there we go. And we'll go back to main, get rid of this level, and add in level 1 that we've been using previously. And let's give this a try. So we don't need to go into VR for this, we can just watch that they follow and avoid each other. Let's hit one of them, disrupt their movement a little bit. Yeah, and they tried to not crash, as I disrupted them just a tiny bit. I need to hit one in the middle for it to really have an effect. Ooh, and well, let me try to crash into one and see if it avoids me. Did you see that? That was great. They like swerved out of the way to not hit me. That was beautiful. Oh man, steering behaviors are cool. I like steering behaviors. It's like such simple math, and it takes, you know, endless tweaking to get it to do what you want, but like, man, that's cool. That is cool. Is the plane model made after any actual plane? So I don't know. I did not make the plane model. I intend to remake it, actually, or at least heavily tweak it if I don't remake the whole thing. But it's like a Creative Commons model that I got from somewhere, and I don't recall if they said they based it on anything. I can check, actually, because, wait, where did I put? I, of course, track the credits for every asset that I use. Plane model. Let's see. They give me so little information, it's hilarious. Format, OBJ, 668 tries, diffuse texture, I guess 512 would be the dimensions, 512 by 512 probably is what they're saying there. PNG. Oh, it's even public domain. So, yeah, I have no idea. We could ask this dude. But this model's from 2015, so odds are we won't get a response. By the way, I'm like 90% sure that this website is built on Drupal, which probably nobody cares except me, because I, for many years, was involved heavily in the Drupal community, much less so now. Anyway, unimportant. Moving on. Okay, so the other thing we have to fix is we needed to change the behavior tree a little bit. To make it not get stuck. The getting stuck was not the collision, but the behavior tree, which is very interesting. So we did that by adding a BT success and wrapping this in that. I asked you for more details, 9L. I was asking you what sort of position are they looking for? Are they looking to be a programmer? Are they looking to be a programmer in the games industry? Are they looking to be a designer in the games industry? Like, that's the question. Oh, in game dev as a programmer? Okay, so what was the question again? It was looking for where to get a job. So like most things, most people get jobs from meeting people. Like, you know, there's the different websites that you can like put your CV on, and you can like look for open positions and email your CV, and you can work with a recruiter. But like 99, maybe not 99, I don't know, I'm making up a number. Something in the 90% of people get jobs because they know somebody who works someplace that's looking or whatever. So like general advice, like any industry, is meet lots of people. The second bit of advice in game dev, which is specific to game dev, is to have a portfolio of some kind. It doesn't have to be portfolio-ish. This can be, you know, just a list of things on your CV, but you want to show that you have done, even if it's not paid work, that you have done the kind of things that you would be doing in the position that you're trying to get. So, you know, that would be that you did game programming on games that are similar to the games at the place that you're trying to get a job at, or if the job is more specific than just programmer, which most are, right? You know, are you trying to get is the position AI programmer? Is the position related to rendering? Is the position related to gameplay programming or whatever? Like, you want to have examples of things that you did that directly relate to the position that you're trying to get. Yeah, networking does take time and travel and such, but I mean, in a lot of places there are small groups like even in this tiny little town in nowhere northern Wisconsin that I live in now, there is like a game developers group here, right? And you could, meet other game developers who may have jobs somewhere that may be looking for someone, or at least introduce you to other game developers who, I don't know. But yeah, it does certainly take time. So yeah, I don't know what to say about that. We've just hit 11 o'clock. I would like to play the game one more time and try to see if I can get the planes to crash into me. And then we're going to end the stream. But I just have to try it. I just have to try to see what happens in VR when I try to crash into the enemies. So let me just get the headset on. All right, are we still? Probably not. Still in here? No. Let me get casting to my computer. Yeah, man. It's being weird. In the headset, it hasn't started casting yet. It like gave up. Oh, but it's coming in or not? Let's try again. Oh, it's giving me this weird error about this content is not viewable outside of the headset. I'm going to quit the app, start the app again. Okay. Let's try again. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh my God. Why will this not work? It's so frustrating. It worked through the whole rest of the stream. We just want to do a victory lap. Give us our victory lap. We might just have to give up, call it a day. Oh well. I will try it after the stream ends and get in there and see what it's like. Ooh, what did I miss here? Networking is a pain, yes. And portfolios are important in IT as well, by the way. Yeah, I would maybe present it a little differently than portfolio. Because, well, anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's effectively always the same thing. You might just like display it differently or call it differently or like, talk about it a little bit differently. Anyway, thanks everyone for coming to the stream. It was a great stream to come back to in 2024 after being off for so much time, and it is stream number 100. Yay! I'm a real streamer now. So I hope everyone has a great weekend. Thanks again, and take care. Bye-bye.